bit of a pity. So, yeah, thank you everybody on YouTube, on Zoom, and even when you see the recording later, we're very glad that you made this. Well, this is a hot topic, isn't it? Mindfulness isn't it somehow on everybody's mind? It's such a fashion word, mindfulness. And there is an overlap between mindfulness and hypnosis. You could always say they're cousins of the same family. And whether you are practiced, another person wanting to come in, whether you are practiced in hypnosis and you know it and you understand it, or you're brand new to it, or you only know mindfulness, or you know neither, I really hope that this little path that I have put together for you is enlightening to you and fun, and you find value in it. Because I have created something brand new, and I'm going to call it, I would have liked to call it 3 Doors Down, but I think that's taken. It was an amazing band if it still exists. But the three door concept, that's what I want to introduce to you two. And in a nutshell, so mindfulness is the practice of noticing. The second door is going to be conscious awareness. That puts you at the steering wheel, that gives you choices. And the last door, the door, is the door into the universe of hypnosis. And I would like to excite you with this and take benefit from this, because it matters. This whole path really matters, because the world that we live in is, number one, we're very outwardly focused. Very few people generally take note of how they are and who they are and what their needs are. Internally, I mean, we all have desires, you know, we want a new car or a new lover or a new dog or whatever, but do we actually take note of how we are? And even lesser people, I would assume, understand what effect that has on us when we always outwardly focused and always on the go, that it has the tendency to put us constantly in a low grade fight or flight response. We always feel a little bit behind, we always feel a little bit under stress, and that has an effect on us long term. We can't escape that. So we might feel a little anxious or stressed, we might be moody, our focus can get foggy, and yeah, and all the beautiful ripple effects that come with that. But most importantly, or maybe not most importantly, equally as important, is that when we are not mindful, we lose the subtleties of life. We lose the richness that life is offering us. So we're scraping, you know, that what we think is what we can get, and then we rush to the next thing, instead of, quite rightly though, the saying goes, stop to smell the roses, no? That's what they say. And you will see, as we use this 3 door path, that we're not going to get around understanding that we are run by an operating system. And our mind must be divided into 2 aspects. And it is really helpful if we have a little understanding what these 2 aspects mean. And obviously, those in the know will guess what I'm talking about, is the conscious and the subconscious mind. It's very helpful to understand mindfulness or conscious awareness, and definitely hypnosis. Where are we in this process, and which aspect of our mind is in operation? So I made this little video, and Arno, thank you for distributing it. But I can't bank on it that everybody has seen it, because it was rather late in the day. I mean, it's only 3 minutes and something, but that's what I mean by not being in mindfulness. Sometimes we don't have 3 minutes to watch something because we haven't evaluated what benefit it can bring to us. So it gets at the end of the to-do list. And so you may not have come to that. So let's just look at that quickly. And the analogy that I used in the video that I'm very fond of lately is that your conscious mind is your personal chat GPT. You know, I hardly know, I don't know anybody who hasn't at least tried ChatGPT for a while. And I think it's great fun. And in my life, it's a great help. Um, I learn so much. Not only do I learn facts, but when I write something, because English is not my first language, and I ask ChatGPT to improve of my, the way I say things, I believe my English has improved, just like by using it. But the thing with ChatGPT is, and I'm pretty sure that you all know that, it can only give you information of stuff that has been inputted into it. So ChatGPT does not come up with brand new concepts somewhere gathered from the universe. And it's the same with our conscious mind. It can only reverberate information and ideas that the input has been done in the past. So we kind of in a mental hamster wheel of reproducing old input. And yes, sometimes the conscious mind puts these old informations together in new ways. Sorry, I had to admit somebody else. It puts it together in new ways, and it might come across as a brand new idea. And I'm not by any means diminishing the value of the conscious mind, because its way of analyzing and using logic and discerning and all that is being critical, is very important. But it does have limitations. So does ChatGPT. And it makes errors, no? Just like ChatGPT also does errors. There was a brilliant way. It was, I can't remember his name now. He wrote a book, The Pure Human, and he was explaining that the amount of information is also limited by the material it runs through. And here again, with the conscious mind, it's even limited by the amount of information it can process. If you would know, and I'm very reluctant to throw figures around because they're not conclusive, but if you are looking it up, how many millions of impressions we are bombarded with every moment. Our senses are taking it in, and theoretically we should work with all of them, but that is practically completely impossible. The conscious mind is not able to do that. It can handle 5, maybe 7 aspects at the time if it's fast, and that's the end of it. So when we think that our clever, intelligent, conscious mind is running our life, that maybe we need to think again. But there is another aspect to our mind, and that is what generally is called the subconscious mind. And if you want to see it, that it sits like an amazing, vast library kind of behind the conscious mind. And there, everything is stored, every memory, every beliefs, our automatic reaction. It determines the way we walk, talk, breathe. It really runs the show from that background. And generally, we don't realize that at all. So what, for example, happens is we embarrassed, for example, and then we automatically blush, or start stuttering, or we feel nervous or anxious, and then our heart rate increases, or we feel somebody's aggressive towards us, and then we have to defend ourselves. All of these automatic reactions are programs sitting in the subconscious that are actually running our life. It also holds our beliefs and the whole patterns, what we believe about this and that. So when we in life confronted with something, the subconscious goes immediately to work. Kind of imagine a very efficient person running and looking for the file. What are we thinking about this topic? And then gives it to the conscious mind, and the conscious mind gives us a thought. And we think we're so clever that we had that thought. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, there was a lot of things going on to pull that information and give it to you. And the functions that happens with the body are completely automatic, and so are our emotional reactions to it. And we know that that is all true when you look at worry, for example. You know, when we worry about something, it hasn't happened yet. But we're so good in worrying, and then our subconscious mind goes into the back archive and looks at similar or same kind of incidences and says, I know exactly what we need to do, hands it to the conscious mind, and the conscious mind produces the thoughts and the thinking about the situation. And we have sometimes very little chance of having impact of whether that's true or whether we want to change it. And yeah, and that also shows why when we make conscious decisions to change certain things, that we sometimes don't succeed with such ease as we would like to succeed. Because we're sitting in a situation, we say, I would like to have a different reaction. There's another chocolate coming around and I'm not going to have a piece. And the next thing, it finds itself in my mouth because my subconscious pulled the file that it actually is comforting for me. So it gives then the information to the conscious mind, I want this, I have to have it. And here it is, although I thought I made the decision, I'm going to skip this one. So in a way, these operating system that we have in our mind, it almost feels like we're a victim to it. And when we don't have the awareness of what to do with it, then in a way we are. And what we're discussing here, not just tonight, but every time we come together, we actually giving you an option to get out of this victim mode of your own operating programs and taking charge of your life. And not only taking charge of your life by making decisions, but by actively going into the archive and looking at certain files and programs and changing them so that in future, in same situations, the subconscious pulls a different file, gives it to the conscious mind produces different thoughts for us. And that's how we can change how our life is and who we are. It's important to understand this conscious and subconscious mind, because when we start going through these doors, obviously, in order to be very effective, we would like to go through the door of hypnosis as well in the end. I mean, that's the whole topic, how mindfulness meets hypnosis. So as an example, and I use this in the video as well, if I were to say to you that you have to speak in a few days to an audience of 500 people, and I've chosen this example because public speaking is, to my knowledge, the most known phobia. It looks like most people feel very uncomfortable when they do that. So just to to give you an example of this, so your conscious mind will then kind of instantly say, my God, what will I say? And how will I prepare? And will people judge me? And things like that. And so that's very thought productions. But the subconscious, back in the archives, pulls out all the emotional content on that. And it pulls out memories that have to do with exposing yourself and being judged, moments when you felt very proud, not proud of yourself or nervous or exposed or whatever. And it feeds that to the conscious mind, who creates then more thoughts of, I don't know whether I can do it, and I don't really want to do this. And then, of course, the subconscious, it goes via the nervous system into the body. The heart starts racing, your palms sweating, and you have various levels of anxiousness or worry or even anxiety, up to even panic attacks, to what this idea of having to talk to a big audience in a few days can do for you. So I hope you can follow me here, what I'm saying, and you can kind of maybe visualize the departments in your mind that are in charge of how you react. And it seems so weird that something that we can't put on the table and scientifically look at, and that's the mind I'm talking about, that has such incredible power over us. It almost feels illogical. And we think in most cases that I have willpower and I have determination and I have discipline and I can override these things. And yeah, with a lot of perseverance and a lot of effort, sometimes we're lucky and we succeed, but there are better ways. There are better ways to live, and there are better ways to get to know ourselves, to stay calm and centered, even if life, throws us the lemons so that we can make the lemon juice from it. And mindfulness is definitely the first door to go through, right? So the definition, how we would define mindfulness, is to be in the present and to just notice, to be in the observer, in the observer role, and totally without without judgment. And that needs to be practiced, because I don't think this is a habit that we all have practiced. So not only what happens outside of us, but also what happens, maybe even more so, inside of us. So when we go back to our example, the mindfulness that one can bring to the situation, when I tell you, you got to speak to 500 people from a stage in a few days, is while all of that happens that we just discussed, is that in a mindful way, you just observe how you are feeling. I'm anxious. I'm worried about this, without judgment, excuse me. And in a way, you can say, it's almost as if this has nothing to do with you. You're just observing this. And by being mindful of this, you're already starting to take a certain energetic value out of what could have caused a tirade of happenings in your mind and in your body. Simply by observing it, certain things happen in your body, where the brain understands, aha, somebody is taking kind of charge, we are safe. So the practice of mindfulness is already bringing a certain amount of calmness and stability to our system. And in that process, when we practice this, it gives us a lot of resilience to work with life better. And then on the real positive side, by observing things outside of us and inside of us, that's what I mean is by the world, the life can get so much richer, and there are so much subtleties that we miss when we are not mindful. And this is a really subtle kind of shift, but it's a very, very, very important shift. You are not being swallowed away by the happenings. You are observing them, and by that you kind of putting not yet a matter of control, but you kind of saying, I'm a part player of this, what is happening. And the body and the brain, or the brain and the body, notice that, and they're kind of hold these alarm systems that may have normally gone into action, and kind of say, there is a different player here. We don't need to do that. So the gift of mindfulness is that it calms our nervous system, and it brings us from autopilot into the present moment. And that's very important if you can think about that. Not being tossed by the waves, but by being present in the moment, examining the waves, and that brings a lot of benefits. So the calmer body, a clearer mind. When you do that, your emotions will be more balanced. You will see in a moment when we go through the next door that you also have more choices, because there is time between being triggered and reacting or responding. By being the observer, you kind of freeze that moment, if you will, and it gives you a chance to say, oh, I'm worried, or oh, I'm joyful, without judgment. And this it's an awareness. And when we go through the next door, you will see that we can add something to it. I just want to add, because it's a question that I would anticipate to come, is how meditation falls into mindfulness. And it actually, meditation, I would like to say, is a mindfulness practice. Because what you do is, you're not in meditation, that's one of the practices, is to just notice what is. But often in meditations, you have a focus on something, on a mantra or your breath or visualization or something. And you return your mind when it wants to wander. So you strengthen your ability to be mindful. So it's a good practice to do that. It goes beautifully hand in hand with mindfulness. So that would be door number one. That in and by itself can change your life by all the details that you notice. It's almost slowing down time, as if you're in a time capsule and you're now noticing, and as if time stands still, and you now have that space to almost, I don't want to say think, but to almost think about your reaction and what are you going to do with this. And that takes us through the second door. And the second door is conscious awareness. And in this conscious awareness, when now we're adding choice to it. So you say, I'm worried about speaking to 500 people, And in pure mindfulness, that's where you stop. How we normally are is we straight away go into the story. And we can be completely overwhelmed in no time. You think about having to speak to 500 people, and the next moment, your heart is racing and you don't want to be there. This is not what you're going to do. And that's the end of the story. Mindfulness, you stop that for a moment, and in conscious awareness, you not only slow down the time and create that space and become the observer, but you're adding the aspect that you are now have a steering wheel. You can now make choices about this. What am I going to do with this? Right? Mindfulness, conscious awareness. So let's say you're worried about tomorrow. You're worried about talking to the 500 people. So what is it? You might notice that you have tensions, you have emotions that you don't want. But instead of just reacting to this, you can now choose what to do. And there's many choices you can have. One choice would be to say, these thoughts are not serving me, and I just let them drift away. But if you're not mindful and not observing what was happening, you don't have a choice. It just goes so fast. The body is reacting in no time. The conscious mind is acting on what the subconscious mind it receives from it so quick that it spirals so quickly, and then the moment is gone. So by practicing mindfulness and by stepping into a conscious awareness, you can add these beautiful, mature step of saying, okay, so I'm experiencing this or that. What do I want to do with it? And that's powerful. And that little question or statement that I just said, what do I want to do with it, puts us into power. And when we feel we have more power, we create a sense of inner stability. And then we are not getting hijacked by these automated responses that come our way. Because the subconscious obviously just gives this information to the conscious mind based on the patterns and old memories, and it runs this loop. And by you kind of saying, oops, stop, I'm noticing, and I'm aware that I'm having choices, you stop that system, and the body and the brain understands, somebody here is also in charge. We don't have to go into reaction mode. Let's just stay calm. And that's what you feel. And now you can make and create the responses that you find most appropriate. So mindfulness and conscious awareness. And the third door, I'm sure you guessed it, the third door is hypnosis. And that, of course, is the one that our life is about. That's what we teach, we preach, we live, we breathe. Arno says so beautiful, we relax for a living. Not so sure about that, but I do it with a lot of joy. So what's the definition of hypnosis? Well, hypnosis is, in this context of explaining things, is when the conscious mind and its critical attitude is kind of relaxed to a way, and with help of being mindful, of having these conscious awareness, which puts the whole nervous system kind of on hold. It doesn't have to go into alarm mode. So the conscious mind and its critical faculty can take kind of a backseat. And what that means is that the library, the archive into the subconscious mind, that door is now wide open and we can step into it. So something happens, which normally just go over our head. We have an automatic reaction and kind of afterwards, what happened just now? Mindfulness, you become the observer. Conscious awareness, it's the choices to it. You had the steering wheel. What can I do with it? I can let the thought go. I can reframe. I can replace my emotion. I can do all sorts of things. But none of these first two steps will change what's in the back in the archive. That remains. So in other words, every time something happens in our life and those files will be pulled from the subconscious and handed to the conscious mind, that will happen again. We can possibly subdue this, but our work in staying mindful in the same situation and exercising our choices, we will have to do that again and again and again, unless we opt to go through the third door and take the opportunity to go through this archive and look through those files and find them and decide whether they actually work for us or whether they should be changed or updated or whatever we feel is right to do with that. So how mindfulness meets hypnosis then, mindfulness and conscious awareness can take us right to the door of hypnosis, where it can be open for us to enter and do such work, which I don't want to call it work, can do those things that it won't be necessary any longer to be consciously aware of choices, because now we change that program and the automation is different. We will have a preferred response to something than we had in the past. And I'm hoping that you're going to be mindful of that change, because it should make you very proud and very happy. So in that video, what I used as an example was that the subconscious mind, with the speaking for an audience, the subconscious mind goes and says, oh my God, I'm going to be exposed. I'm going to say something terrible. People will judge me. I'm going to make a fool of myself. The body shuts down. The conscious mind walks amok. And yeah, most probably your performance won't be the best. You can help with this with mindfulness and conscious awareness. But let's imagine you go through that last door and you reframe that file, that memory, that pattern, that belief that sits there, that gets pulled by the subconscious, that says, danger, danger, we're going to be exposed, everybody's going to laugh about me. And we replace it with something that makes sense to us, and that's true. For example, speaking to people is exciting and empowering. And if our input gets accepted and replaces or updates the existing data that's in the archive, now when I ask you, in a couple of days, you have an opportunity to speak to 500 people, you might say, wow, that's exciting. And it could be an event that could be very empowering instead of going into panic. So that is the connection between the three doors. The door of mindfulness, which we could practice all the time. I think the more we do that, the richer our life becomes. I find that the conscious awareness almost goes hand in hand, because just being the observer might not be enough. And knowing that you have choices and executing some of your choices is really, really cool. A really mature way of doing things. I'm just muting Clive. And then, of course, the power room of hypnosis, where you can change your subconscious programming. Yeah, and we know that that works. And because when we, for example, sorry, before I say anything further, what I haven't stressed, what I haven't pointed out strong enough is the fact that the subconscious doesn't have eyes and doesn't look outside and doesn't reference anything to the outside world. And so it doesn't know whether anything is real or imagined. And that's very, very powerful. That is so powerful that the whole area of worry and anxiousness proves that, because we rehearse our disasters to a degree that we become so anxious. Our body may even react to this, but nothing has happened yet. It was all just an imagination in our mind that our subconscious regarded as real. But that's true for not so nice things, but it is equally as true for positive things. So if you imagine long enough, strong enough, and in the right ways, the right things, your subconscious will update the files in the archive. And then you will have a different response. And that is the incredible promise that the journey through the 3 doors can give you. Yeah. We're going to have a little practice run with this. And before we do that, Arno, I've talked a lot. Is there anything where things were maybe unclear and I should, or you can fill something in?
Claudia, I love it. I think it's perfect. You explained it beautifully. Yeah, it's perfect. Nothing I can think of right now that I want to add.
Okay, well, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Okay, let me just see here what I want to have. Yeah, we've done that. Cool. Then I think theory is one thing, practice is another. And I always think we satisfied the conscious mind now. Let's just do something with the subconscious mind, shall we? And that would mean that you can just relax in your seats. And I'm going to take you through a little journey to experience this. So let's call it the 3 doors. This little script, which might be, Brigitte, a really cool thing to do for some of the courses, perhaps. All right. So I can't see all of you, but I wish and I would advise you and invite you that you sit back in your chair and that you relax. And in order to focus, it's always a good idea to close your eyes. Because when the eyes are closed, there's less sensory input, and less sensory input makes us more focused. And the first focus I'm inviting you to is a mindful, obviously, invitation. So we can go straight through the first door into mindfulness. And I can't do that for you. I can only guide you. You've got to do this for yourself. So just notice how you are sitting. I assume you are sitting in your chair with your eyes closed. And just notice. And perhaps first notice your physical body And maybe start with your shoulders and just notice whether your shoulders are tense or not. Remember, there's no judgment and there's nothing in particular you have to do about this. It's just noticing. Is there any tension in the body anywhere? Just notice. And you might want to add your breathing, your rate of breath. Is it fast or normal, or how is it? And it is as quick as this to do a quick body scan, to just be mindful of what is the state of your inner world. And should your mind wander at any given time, bring it back to my voice or bring it back to your breath or both. Right. So the topic of mindfulness that I want to use, because it's nice to have a topic, I would like to invite a friend of ours, your friend, and I have my own, and we all have our own friend, and it's called the inner critic. I don't know whether you're aware of that friend that has things to say to you like you weren't good enough, or why did you do that, or why didn't you do that, or why didn't you do it better? And perhaps you're willing to find something, perhaps today, earlier in the day or yesterday, when that happened, when this inner critic was speaking to you. And you might even invite him in and letting that scene become clearer and clearer, and just notice how that inner voice is criticizing you. Just listening to its words, not judging. There's nothing you got to do at this moment, just being aware that this is happening. That's all. How often we do that, how often we allow this to happen. And now take this inner critic and yourself through the second door. So you have the same scenario, nothing has changed, but in addition for you being the observer and noticing these things, you now sitting in a situation where you have some control over your choices. So listen to the inner critic, what it says, and you can respond or say to yourself in whichever way you want to communicate, that is not me. I'm not this voice. I'm the one who notices this. I'm the observer of this happening. And here now you already have now, because you created some distance from it, you're not immediately going into defensiveness or feeling guilty or something like that. You now have some choices, and you can choose from the array of options that you have there. One, for example, would be to say to yourself that I'm learning, I'm human, and in this moment I've done my best, and I'm enough. So it's almost like you have a communication with that inner critic, or you're coming for your own defense, so to speak. Another way, what you could do is just imagine that these words of the inner critic are encapsulated in a beautiful helium balloon, and you send it flying, and it goes away because you find that criticism not in the right place. It doesn't serve you at this moment. So there's a couple of choices other than the one that you know so good. That's in the behind the door of your awareness, of your mindfulness. And now take all of this, the body that sits in the chair, starting to relax, your friend, in inverted commas, the inner critic, what it says to you and the choices that you have, how you could deal with it. And take all this and go on a mental vacation into a place that you really, really like best. Find a space in your mind, just create it, where you feel so relaxed, so at ease, where you can just be for a moment. And if there isn't a memory that suits you or that comes to mind quickly, it could even be just wishful thinking or a daydream. And you find yourself into this place. And now you can just go into this process again, just notice your body and just let it relax a little bit more. Having this conscious awareness and going through the body and maybe checking on your shoulders again and noticing just how relaxed they are. Maybe your decision of what to do is to relax them a little bit more. And maybe send that relaxation all the way through the body, down to your toes. And as you relax deeper and deeper and become perhaps even more and more aware how good it feels to be in this place of your choice, where things are exactly the way you like them, you could have a nice meeting with your inner critic, with that voice inside that you can find out now why it has those comments for you. And it wouldn't surprise me if one of the reasons why it is so loud sometimes, that it really wants you to be your best. So get to know that voice, but also have your say. Maybe what you want to say, and of course you can change my words to suit you, is I'm worthy of patience. I'm worthy of patience. I don't need to do everything perfect. I can learn. I'm human and I deserve the same kindness I give to others. And I wish you would be kinder to me. And I deserve this compassion. So you could program on one level, you could program yourself that any time when these inner critic comes up and has something to say to you, that from now on, your instant reaction is, thank you, but I'm worthy of patience and I deserve the same kindness I give to others. And I deserve compassion. And notice what that does to you. Notice instead of tensing and going into an array of emotions and frantic trying to solve issues or whatever, you can just relax. Because it is clear that in a relaxed state, we think clearer, we possibly make better decisions. So you may have to repeat this again and again until such time when it is fully accepted and something happens in life when the inner critic wants to come out and scold you. The subconscious goes and fetches another file from the back archive and hands it to the conscious mind. And then the inner critic whispers through the conscious mind different thoughts by saying, you are worthy of this patience, and you do deserve the same kindness that you give to others, because I do have compassion for you. You still know that you maybe could have done better. You know, yeah, when you didn't put in what was needed in order to arrive at the goals that you anticipated. You know that. You don't need harsh words inside to remind you of that. So repeat this and maybe even have kind of an attitude of gratitude towards this inner critic by saying, thank you, I understand that you want the best from me, but the way you can notify me is going to be different because I'm programming myself now that in future you do this different. In future you understand that I'm worthy of patience, and that I deserve kindness and that I deserve compassion. And now, maybe even visualize how the files way back in the archive that was holding all the memories and patterns of beliefs and old events, perhaps from when you were little, where maybe your parents talked to you in these ways, that all of these files get upgraded. They get a new version, a version of kindness and compassion and patience to propel you to new heights, to reach your desires in a kind way, not in a harsh way. And notice how this upgrade is happening and how eager every aspect of your being is actually willing to do this. And with this happening now, project yourself into another situation that you kind of know is happening in some time to come, where you, before today, probably anticipated your inner critic to come out very loud. And find yourself in that situation and notice the inner dialogue and how different it can be. And now you also know that that process of noticing is mindfulness. It's kindness in its own way. And that opens the door to choices. And that opens the door to programming yourself. And that should make you feel really, really good and powerful. And now that this little journey is coming to an end, take another nice deep breath in as if you are sealing this upgrade of your programming in. You're seeing this is done, this being treated with kindness and compassion. Seal it in and come back through the door and become aware again how your body is sitting here in this chair. And in a moment, get ready to open your eyes and notice at the shift that you have created within yourself. And when you're ready, come back through the last door, open your eyes and be fully here in the present. Welcome back. So this last door, this last step, I think mindfulness and conscious awareness are concepts that easy enough to understand. They just need to be practiced. And it is okay, in my opinion, remember kindness and patience. If you just do it once tomorrow is better than not at all. And you probably will come to love it. So you're going to do it more and more because it does enrich your life so much. And so the first and the second door that go hand in hand are relatively easy if you're willing to do it, if you're willing to take the initial time to remind yourself to do it. The third door into the focused state, into the focused, relaxed state of hypnosis is something that it is so subtle that we sometimes miss when we're there. And when we're there, then the inner critic comes and doubts that we are there. and therefore, we find that it is helpful to have somebody to show you the ropes, just a few times so that you feel more at home in the state and you understand it better and you know how it feels. And I was saying to Arno earlier, the analogy, imagine when you couldn't drive a car but you wanted to drive the car, and now you're sitting in your car in the middle of the traffic, and you have a vague idea that you saw somewhere or heard people speaking about pedals and gas and brakes and mirrors and shifting gears and all of that. And it's just a little overwhelming. And I think that's why people have driving instructors. They take you through the process so that you learn it, and it takes a bit of time, and repetition makes perfect. And now you drive without even thinking about it. And all these processes, going all through all these three doors, can be such a process. It can be so easy when you know how. And to make this, some of you know it, some of you might be new to this, to make this available for everybody, we have this one-day course where you basically go through the door of hypnosis again and again and again. And we give you lots of tools, and we explain that there is some kind of different rules in the subconscious, and we explain them too. And by the end of that day, you have a much better understanding, not only what happens behind that third door, but also how you feel behind that third door, and you can recognize that. Arno, do you want to say a little bit more about our self-mastery through auto-hypnosis course?
Yes, please. Thank you, Claudia. That was amazing. And, I think it's important to realize what a huge gift a person gives themselves when they become mindful, because for most people, life goes by, it's on autopilot. So, the hours and the days and the weeks and the months and the years go by, and a lot of people are not experiencing life as it just goes by. It's just they're almost like a spectator of their own life. They're not actually having the experience. And being mindful is a way to stop that chatter, what do you call it, the monkey chatter, and just get involved with your own life. Yeah, so thank you so much, and thank you for that session. It was beautiful. I feel so calm and clear. It's gorgeous. Yes, absolutely. In terms of the self-mastery courses, we have this coming Saturday in Cape Town. We have a self-mastery course. So you're welcome to, there's still space. So you're welcome to join us. If you'd like to join us, send me a message directly on the business, the WhatsApp account WhatsApp number that you joined the group, or whichever group. We've got 8 groups, so whichever group you're on, and we can take it from there. And then Joburg, we've got a self-mastery coming up in October. And then I just want to mention something about CC1. I've had a number of people asking me about CC1 not being on the calendar for both Joburg and Cape Town. And that is because the CC1 generally happens about every 6 months. So it's almost like a semester kind of intake. And, we recently had the intakes in both Joburg and Cape Town. And what happened in Cape Town is there was so much demand that we ran a second CC1 a month later, which was amazing. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is even though it's not on the calendar, you're not seeing it over there, the new calendar will be coming out soon. The new CC1s for both Joburg and Cape Town, the intakes, the starting point for the training will be roughly in around February. So although CC1 is the official starting point, we recommend you start with self-mastery because it gives you a very solid foundation, right? And that runs about every 6 weeks in both Joburg and Cape Town. It's been doing that for, 20 years or something. So in terms of CC1, if you really want to have a CC1 sooner, please send me a WhatsApp message or go on the website and just fill in the contact form and just say that you would really love to have a CC1 sooner. And then we might be able to schedule one. So I've already got a list of people. We don't have enough yet to maybe have a sooner CC1. But if we do get enough people, we'll schedule sooner for those of you that wants to jump right in. Okay, right. So that's it from me. Self-mastery is where you will take this concept and these concepts that Claudia shared so beautifully with us tonight and take it to even deeper level and actually integrate and activate it in your system. So you can absolutely do this on your own. You can practice it on your own, but you know what? If somebody helps you, is that analogy of the traffic? Yeah, you could figure it out on your own, sitting there, stepping on the gas and playing with the indicators and stuff. But it's going to be more work. So if you allow somebody to help you, it just becomes so much easier. Right. Yeah. Thank you again.
It's almost like we pre-programming or pre-program people to program themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a powerful day. It's a powerful day. Brigitte does it in Joburg. Bianca does it in Cape Town. And yeah, as you say, it's so popular that we're doing it for so many years. And I hope from my side to welcome you through this door here and through the doors in Joburg as well. And I wish you a wonderful evening. And remember to be kind and patient, right? And mindful. And remember the 3 doors. Okay. Bye-bye.